everybody, it's Kate Richburg, and welcome to Free Tip Friday. This is a pre-recorded video, folks. I am not live today. I'm off, so I'm recording this for you earlier, and I hope you all enjoy it. It's going to be a quick little broadcast today talking about the Watchband, the Apple Watchband. Some of you have written in asking about measurement tips and stuff like that. So I thought today be fun to do just a quick little video for you folks to get you on your way if you haven't made one yet, or if you've made one, it's time to make another one. So just real quick before we get started, I just wanted to remind you folks that social media is super important to help others find this content. So if you would please share, hit that like button, and pass this broadcast on to anyone you think might like this content. Join us over on Facebook on our Bead Table Bead group. Hit us up on Instagram at beadshop.com. And of course, we've got our great Pinterest page with lots of great ideas. Questions, you can always email us right at info@beadshop.com. And don't forget that everything that I'm showing for you today is all on our website at beadshop.com. Again, with questions, shoot us that email, and don't forget to stay in touch and sign up for our newsletter. So that being said, let's get to it, shall we? It's great to see all of you all here, even though you're here and it's not a live broadcast, it's a pre-record. But thank you all so much, of course, for joining us as always. Let me go ahead and solo this out. So I'm sorry if I don't answer specific questions for you folks today because I'm not live, so I don't see the comments. But if you have any questions at all, shoot us that email, or hopefully I'll cover everything in this broadcast for you today. So this project was called Time Will Tell, and it was a fun one to do. And when we got, these are for the Apple watch bands. We carry them in the 2 sizes here. And I want to measure this length for you just so that you know what fits what watch band, right? So the watch band face, I have my Apple Watch sitting here, and mine is, so let me measure it for you. My watch face is almost 35 millimeters in width. So I'm going to go ahead, and it may even say on the back how big they are. Let me see. Waterproof. No, all of that. So anyway, no, 41 millimeter. So that must be this length is the 41 right here. Let me see if that's correct. It is. That is correct. So I'm going to go ahead and take my watch band out. This is the one I wear a lot. We did these, if I can, let me get a little closer to me so I can slide it out. We did these, one of our retreat participants last year, Susan, did one. And it came out really beautiful. But we learned a lot making that one. And I also learned a lot making this one about sizing and stuff like that. And that's what I really want to talk about, because with the watch bands that are like this, right? These kind of stretchy watch bands here, or you can get them that are a little more traditional type watch bands. But the way that the Apple Watch or a lot of these different watches work is it's this sensor that's on the back that has to come in contact with your skin, right? Like this. So you get the proper readings for the watch and everything. The way that I'm used to wearing my watch is I wear them a little loose. So it, more like a bracelet, not like a tight watch. So it's taken a little bit of getting used to make sure that the watch is seated correctly on my wrist. So when you make your own watch band like this, you need to make sure it's tight enough. It's kind of a game of sizing so that it sits nicely, doesn't move around too much. So all of your readings, like if you were doing, counting your steps or whatever it is that you're doing, calculating with your watch band, that sensor comes in contact with you. So this one that I made a while back, it's too big. Actually, I wore it one day and I was like, yeah, this sucker's too big. So I either need to make it a little smaller or honestly make myself a fresh one. So I wanted to show you, these are the connectors here. So what I would do if I were working on my watch band, I would put my connectors in. Okay. And this is the length. Let's see if it can go. Whoops, wrong side, I bet. Yes. So here's the connector. Okay. So if I measured this and I measured it door to door, is what I like to say. And it's, if I go to inches, it's about 1 2/3 inches, about, right? Let me get my tape measure here as well. Or 1 3/4 inches, sorry, I was thinking in thirds, but yes, 1 3/4 inches is about what this length is, okay? Then you also need to take into consideration what your clasp is going to measure, right? So this is the one that I did on the previous show. And I did that button with the loop and the knot. So I'm going to measure this section. I'm going to do it with this part of the tape measure. So that's about 1/2 inch right there that's going to add. So that total is, what did I say, 1 3/4 inches plus 1/2 inch. That's 2 1/4 inches, which is here. Okay. So that length is real estate that's already been used up. So depending on if you're going to do just a single wrap or a multiple wrap is going to take a little more space. Let me measure my wrist for you. It's 6.5. My wrist is 6.5 inches. Okay. So this, if my watch band, if I wanted it super tight and still it had beads and stuff on, I would probably make it about 6 1/4, about there. Okay. If it was a single wrap. So let me measure, this one. Let me take these out. So you've got to do a little bit of calculation, right? And like a wrap bracelet, you know how you know when you're getting close to the end of the wrap bracelet, you need to start trying it on, right? And measuring it and stuff, which is why I think a lot of these watch bands come so that they're adjustable, right? And you can do that by putting a couple of loops, like 1 and 2 or whatever, if you were making this for someone, or if you were really making this for someone and giving it as a gift. What I would do is I would finish it and then actually try it on them and then finish it with the clasp, right? So it really fits well. So let me show you. I'm going to take my sweater off here and let me show you how this doesn't fit me. Let me measure it first, door to door, what I call door to door. So here's this side, and this is measuring from about where the button sits to about there. That's about 10 inches. So this is meant to be a 2 wrap. And this goes here. I'm going here. This is also about 10 inches, right? And so that's 20 plus the, what did I say? 1 3/4 of an inch. So that's 20, 21 3/4 of an inch, inches for my wrist. So that is just slightly too big. See here? I would really, that 3/4 of an inch that's extra is really not what I want. See how I want that to fit nice and tight on my wrist? So I would actually ditch, and what did we say? This was about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. So it's that 3/4 of an inch that's just too long. Okay. So when you're measuring, like I said, take a look at your ends, take a look at what you're going to close, subtract that from your finished length, plus wrapping 3 times around. It's about 21 inches is what I want because of the thickness of this watch, stuff like that. So if your wrist measures at about 6.5, your measurement for a 3 wrap, well, this is like a 3 wrap. I'm calling it a 2 wrap because one of the wraps is a watch, but it's actually 3. It's this one, this with the watch on, and then this one here. So you want about 21 inches finished door to door, what I call door to door. So, yeah, this is just 2. So I would have just stopped this. Let me go back here. Let me, if I can take this off, maybe. Come on. All of you watching, I can't take this watch off my wrist. So you know it's not going anywhere. There we go. Come on. This is when I say I need a third hand. Someone out there help me out here. There it goes. Okay. So if I kind of overlap this, yep, you can see it's just that little 1/2 inch that's, or 3/4 of an inch that's making this 2. There we go. Too loose. That's the way we want it. So I would have made the button opening, get that charm out of the way, right here. So what I can do is I could clip this. I've got enough. I could tie a knot here or macrame here, close it off here. I could do that because I love this watch band. I really think it looks great, but too loose and your readings won't be right. So I hope that's helpful. I also wanted to show a couple more tips for you, and styles that you could work on. You know, what I did with this watch is I tapered out here and here so that this portion that's kind of sitting in the center of your wrist is kind of, is substantial because it goes from the width of the watch and then tapers down. What I found also with our friend Susan, who made this at the retreat, she made a showstopper. It was really beautiful. And I don't know how many wraps it was. It was really great, but it was a wide wrap going around and around and around. So with the watch and like a 5 wrap or whatever it was real heavy. So when you do your watch band, I have found that slimming everything down, this one is just a single, right? I just used 8/0 and 6/0 here. You could do a multiple row, or, I brought this piece that Drea did a while back just to illustrate. You could use just 6/0 like this. She laddered with the hemp here. This width would be good, but I feel like when you start to get too wide, like this piece that I did, this might work actually because it's smaller. But you just don't want to get too big on this, because as it wraps and the watch face is so wide, it's just not going to be comfortable. But this is something that I think once you make one, you really realize, oh, this is actually how I want these to fit. I also grabbed some soft flex, because the cool thing about these components, let me take this out here, and you can watch the other, I have the original video. You can go back and watch this one. And it talks about how I connected all of these together and how I laddered. I did infinity stitch here. And then I used the transition beads here just to kind of give some substance to the watch band. But you could also use something like this soft flex in it. So we'd slide this on, and then we would use our soft flex. I would do small little beads around this, like so, to loop around. Pardon me, I had to sneeze and I hit the mute button just in time. Perfect. So I could cover this with bullion or small seed beads, whatever, and then I could crimp it like this, and I could crimp them all the way across, and I could get quite a few. The beads would kind of hold them apart, but I could do a 4 or 5 strand this way. And if I did that, I would use, it's not the right color, but I would use one of our Clio clasps, and I would just crimp it across like this. I would probably just do this as a single, not as a multiple wrap, but just as it comes around, and and then I crimp it here. Be aware though, if you do that single strand, you're not going to have that much to bead, maybe only about 2 inches here before you have to add your clasp on. So just a thought, if you're going to do this with soft flex, which you could, be really aware of like that length. So I would measure, and I would say from the middle here, I would go to about 3.5 inches is 7 inches. So if I put that at the middle of my watch band, I really have 1, 2, plus this closure. So I have really 2 inches of beads to string across. So it's not much, right? So really be aware of that. This would be fun. I think I'm going to play around with doing something on the soft flex, just this single one. So it's more of a band. I think that would be really fun. So I hope, folks, that this has helped give you some ideas. Let me get myself back up here on measuring for the watch band. Get up close and personal with it. They're really fun to make. I had such a good time stringing these, and just, let it reflect your wardrobe. It's a nice way to personalize something. Remember not to make them too wide or too heavy, so they'll be comfortable for you to wear during the day, not so heavy. Make sure they're tight enough around your wrists so you get those steps in. So that wraps it up for me today. Next week, I'll see you live on Wednesday with Janice. We're dropping a new kit of hers that's called Beijing. So make sure that you've signed up for our newsletter so that you see that when it drops. It's going to actually drop on Wednesday. Wednesday's date, let me tell you, if you're watching this live, Wednesday's date is the 25th. So it'll drop on June 25th, that Wednesday at noon Pacific, after Janice and I are done with the broadcast. Limited amount, but we're going to show you a lot of tips and tricks that if you're watching this later or you're watching that one later and not live and you miss out on the kit, you'll be able to incorporate some of Janice's really cool ideas for it. I have a different idea, 100%. I've had tassels on the brain. You saw that with Dria's piece earlier this week and with Janice's piece next week. So I've got a little some ideas I'm going to share with you there as well. So thank you as always for your support, your likes, your shares of this video. Pardon me. You can find all of this info right over on beadshop.com. All the information on the product and the products that I've used from the broadcast today. And questions, don't forget, shoot us that email and we'll be happy to help. Have a fun and creative weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.